privilege and honor to be in front of you today. Thank you, Sheriff Mack, for the invitation to come. I'm going to have our sheriff, Sheriff Terry Makita, who's a colleague of mine, come up with me here today because he's going to speak with me in just a little while. I'm a public servant who wants to support our sheriff in fulfilling the constitutional rights of the citizens of El Paso County. But historians agree that Austria, Czechoslovakia, and Germany were not taken over by forceful means. Everything that happened in those countries, and even during the war, were imposed through law. Those countries were taken over by the pen. They were taken over through written legislation that was passed to protect the people against terrorism and in the name of national security. Similar legislation was adopted, I think, in our NDAA, our National Defense Authorization Act. The German people lost their rights and they lost their lives, and historians have called it Bruning's folly. These governments weren't taken over by an uprising or even a violent revolt. They were taken over by a very well-organized political campaign to gain a majority within their legislative bodies. If our Constitution is not enacted and upheld, any group that is well organized could potentially do the same in the United States of America. I would also like to note for emphasis that Germany was a democratic republic just like the United States, with similar laws and structures prior to 1933, until their constitution was undermined through legal legislative changes. And I think that it is incumbent upon us as county commissioners and as sheriffs to ensure that we act together, that we act collaboratively to protect the citizens that we were sworn to protect and took the oath of office to protect. So would you welcome Sheriff Terry Makita?
Thank you. And thank you, Sheriff Mack, for having me here. It wasn't my office that came forward with this resolution. It was Commissioner Littleton who, on her own, had this brought to her attention and very aggressively had this resolution drafted. Obviously, it had to go through a series of attorneys. We have a fairly large county, which means we have extra attorneys, which means more people have to put their thumbprint on it. But within a matter of 7 to 8 days, had this posted through the legal requirements and before the Board of County Commissioners to be voted on unanimously. I think it was real easy for me to support this resolution. It was a no-brainer. It's doing what I believed I took this job to do. It's what I expect every one of my employees to do, whether sworn or civilian. And we've seen it too often now where federal agencies and state agencies are chipping away at the constitutional rights of our citizens by using bribe money. They're calling it grants. They're saying, if you don't do this, you're not going to get this funding. And it's time we say, I don't need your funding. That's right. And I tell all my friends that are chiefs of police that if you really want to serve citizens, run for sheriff. Because that's where you can hear them, you can listen to them, and you don't have to worry about a non-law enforcement elected bureaucrat trying to set policy with no knowledge or understanding of individual constitutional rights. And I think that's what we're here for, and I think that's what the Office of Sheriff stands for. And I find it no surprise that there are people around the country trying to do away with the Office of Sheriff, and that's where we truly need to stand strong. So thank you.